Hey everyone, it's Insko here. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm actually going to be doing a bit of a breakdown video on my new song Sunlight. But I put a poll on my Instagram story asking whether I should make one of these videos, and there seemed to be a lot of people interested in it, so I thought, why not? If you haven't already listened to the song, here's a little preview. There's a link in the description if you want to go stream it. I really would appreciate it. It's quite a big project, so I'm not going to be able to go through literally everything, but I'm going to try my best to kind of go through some stuff and talk about it. Just before I properly get into breaking down this remix, I just wanted to say that I am live streaming from time to time on my Twitch. Most of the time, I'm making music. There's going to be no schedule over there. I just go live whenever I feel like going live. So if you enjoy watching me making music, go follow my Twitch. There's a link in the description. Let's get into the breakdown. So these are all the project files that I have for Sunlight. I'm really organized with all of my projects and everything like that because it's just easier to be. Yeah, so as you can see here in this other folder, the earliest project that I have for Sunlight is on the 17th of December 2020. And it was on that day which I found the vocal, which is from Splice, by the way. And I messed around with some guitars and stuff and started to come up with an idea for the song. And then fast forward to 2022, I picked up the project again sort of at the end of April. Then I worked on it on May and June, and then I finished it, I think, at the end of June. So yeah, the idea for the project has been there for a very long time, and it's been a bit on and off. So starting off with the intro, we've got a really nice guitar loop here, which was made by one of my good friends, Luke, who I met at my uni. Really nice guitar recording. I originally sent him this other guitar loop, which I found on Splice, but I kind of wanted to be a bit more original because this guitar loop here was actually from the same pack that the vocal that I got was from. And I 100% knew that if there's a guitar in the same pack as a vocal, people have already made a song with that. So I wanted to be a little bit more original. But to be honest, there really isn't a lot going on in the intro. I think there's just some ambient stuff here, which is like really just muffled and in the background. And these two little vocal chop bits here that play in the intro are actually just the vocal chops from the drop of the song. All I did was muffle them, add a bit of delay and reverb, and you got this. Then moving on to the verse, the main thing in the verse is obviously the vocal.
I've been in the dark trying to figure this out. No lights, less sound.
Like I said, I got this vocal off of Splice. I'll put a screenshot on the screen of where I got it from. I'm always just kind of browsing on Splice for vocals or guitar loops or just anything like that. Then under that, we've got the second guitar loop, which is very similar to that intro one. It's just slightly different. It's that section there that was different. So I originally tried to use the intro loop for this section, but there was something about this sort of section here that just felt a bit off in the background. It was almost like drawing too much attention. And then in the background of the verse as well, there's just like a little Reese and sub bass just quietly sitting in the background, filling up some space. Not doing anything too special there, just playing the bass notes. Then again, same thing with the ambience, nothing's changing there. I did also do these with the vocals, sort of before the drum section in the verse. I think that might actually be my vocal. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's me. You're not going to be able to hear that the same now when you listen to the song. But yeah, it's always nice having a few little background pitched vocal effects or just like some little ear candy bits in a song. Moving on to the drum section, this is what all the drums are sounding like. Really nothing too fancy at all. Very straightforward stuff. And then there's like an 808 bass underneath it, which again isn't too fancy either. It's quite subtle actually. For this section though, there is a lot more stuff. For this section though, because there's drums, it needed to be filled up a little bit more. It needed to be more of a fuller section than the bit before. So I also added this pad with the chords. Respace also continues on there. Same ambient stuff. Again, I think it's pretty much the same throughout the whole song. And then other than that, it's just some transitional effects, which are these. And that's pretty much the verse. So if we move on to what I call the bridge section, it's kind of just before the build-up where everything kind of drops off a bit. We've got quite a few little vocal layers and I'll play them all at once.
You say take it day by day, but it's hard when there's no sunlight.
So this one here is just the main vocal layer. This one, which I actually forgot to mention and plays the whole time, is kind of like a reverse reverb layer. So if I was to just play it by itself, it sounds like this. And then underneath that, there's like this weird pitched up, distorted one. And then down here, there's like a muffled lower one. And then underneath that, there's an even lower one. Oh, and you might have also heard these little pitch delayed ones as well. I use that kind of thing in all of my songs, but it's just a really nice sort of place filler. Scrolling down a bit, we got this bass guitar. I mean, it's not really a bass guitar, it's just my guitar lowered. And I really can't play guitar very well, so this is a very scuffed recording. Then underneath that, we got respace and a sub bass, which is more powerful than in the verses. Now, moving on to one of my favorite things in this bridge section, I made this like when I started the project in December 2020. It's like this little plucky bell. I just came up with this like filler melody. Then again, same effects as before with the ambience, but this time I added this one as well. This is a very Chainsmokers thing, which I've done a lot of stuff like this in this song. Now for the actual build-up, where all of the drums come in, I'll play all the drums at once first of all. It's actually pretty decent, to be fair. I was quite happy with that. I'm not going to break it all down because it's going to take too long, but it's literally just like claps, kicks, and snares. That's all it is. Just different ones with like different textures layered, and then it's pitching up at the end and losing the low end, so it's like a cleaner transition. We also have this build-up guitar, which I got from that same splice pack. Other than that, the vocals stay the same. I got rid of some of the layers just because it was unnecessary for the build-up. And I added these strings as well. Sound a bit random. They don't sound too great by themselves, but they sound alright in the mix. And then other than that, it's just a ton of uplifters, I think, after that. And then there's this oversampled fill that I found, and I just kind of distorted it a little bit, and I used that as the fill before the drop. Now this is where things get a little bit more exciting. So moving on to the drop, I'll play the drums first of all. It does look like there's a whole lot of stuff going on here, and to be honest, a lot of it is muted, so there's not a whole lot of stuff. As you can see, I've got some muted snares here because it took me a while to get the snare sound that I was after. There's actually 4 that I'm using. And to be honest, recently I've been looking through my projects and wondering why I don't just save these as my own snare samples, because I always layer snares like 4, 5, 6 times to try and get the snare that I want. And for some reason, I never save them as my own sample, so I should probably start doing that. But yeah, there's not a whole lot going on. Just kick, snares, some rides, hi-hats, and just some kind of percussion stuff. If we move on down here to the chords, this is what we got going on here. And then if I show it on the mixer here, there's actually not a lot playing. I think it's just 2 main chord layers and then 2 top layers. When it comes to melodic bass music, the thing that makes it sound so full is bass and mid bass. So that by itself kind of sounds a bit shit, to be honest. Like it's not full at all. But then when you add the bass onto it, which sounds like this, when you layer these together, this is what it sounds like. And then here we have a sidechain layer as well. All that is just a mixer channel, which I have over here, and basically everything's just routing into that, and then it's just me automating this balance knob. So with the automation, it's like this. Then if we scroll down a little bit, we got all of this stuff going on here, which I'm not going to lie, gets very messy. If I was to play it all at once, which I'll try my best to, there is some stuff that's muted. So these are vocal chops. I made these by just taking the vocal, reversing some bits and cutting it up. Oh, I also forgot to mention this little drum fill that I made over here. This just, it looks like such a mess. I took random little samples and just made this fill out of it. It's like some little glitchy drum sounds. It just sounded nice. I mean, to be honest, that's pretty much the drop. There's not a whole lot going on. It's fairly straightforward. So this section down here is kind of like a bridge, but it's the verse 2 of the song. There's a whole lot of stuff going on here because I wanted to try and make like a dramatic section where it's like, oh shit, the song's just like completely changed up. Wasn't expecting this kind of thing. And to do that, I had to try and get some like big bass hits or like horn sounds or like something along the lines of that. So these are all of like the bass hit sounds. Not too in your face. Like, it has no high end at all because this whole section basically doesn't. But yeah, there's like a sub bass, some impact horn hits, and that's pretty much it. But I think it sounds all right. I also tried to mess around with some like ambient background bits from the vocal. So I managed to cut up the vocal and make this sound out of it. Then we've got this vocal chop, which I made by cutting it up down here, and then I rendered it as an audio clip. So it's just one clip like this. Now, one thing that I actually did before we changed the guitar in the intro and the verses is I cut up the original guitar loop, which I got from Splice, and turned it into this kind of like weird panning background thing. And then we just got some kick drums to layer those impacts, and that's pretty much it. Then moving on to this section here when there's like some drums happening and the vocal comes in. Very straightforward with the drums. It's literally just kicks and snares, I believe. Yeah, just like that. Nothing too fancy. There is a little drum fill over here, which I'll talk about in a second. Yeah, I think that was literally it. Oh, there's also this backing drum fill as well. A drum loop, rather. It's a little like drum and bass thing, which I slowed down. This little loop here, which is just before what I call the build-up. That's actually a loop that I found on Splice by Dubstep, and it's called Night Bus. And the reason that it's called Night Bus is because it's from their song Night Bus Home. And that's one of my favorite songs ever, not even just Dubstep songs. It's just like one of my favorite songs. It's a drum and bass song, but it's like really smooth and just a really, really nice song. So the fact that I kind of have a bit of one of my favorite songs in my own song, I thought that was really cool. And I'm allowed to use it as well because it was on Splice. So then for this section here, it's pretty much the same thing, just the drums are quicker and there's some more effects. There's also this kind of dramatic ARP sound that's been playing basically the whole of this section, which is just from Contact. It's just some strings. Very straightforward stuff. As you can hear, it's fairly distorted. The vocal the whole time, by the way, is just basically singing. Like, there's nothing that's special on there at all. And that's what plays on the build-up. It just kind of teases it. It's a nice transition. It's a good thing to do. Now, this part is quite interesting. So, for the drums on this section, which is this here, this is like the drum fill before the second drop. It's a very big and loud and over-the-top drum loop, but this is what it sounds like. And then there's also like a little ha-ha vocal thing that I found on Splice, which sounds like this. Anyway, that drum loop, as you can probably see by the stuff above it, is made from a ton of stuff. Me and one of my other friends, Liam, who I also met at my university, we booked out the studio to do something else. And then we ended up having some free time and just decided to record a bunch of drums over this track. So at this point, I think the song was, I want to say about like 3/4 done. And I just took it into the studio. He literally just recorded drums over the whole thing, just like freestyling it all, just done like a bunch of drum fills and stuff. And then he just came up with some really nice drum fills, and I just put them all together, distorted it a lot, and then ended up making that drum fill. So that's pretty nice to have. Moving on to the second drop, which is the dubstep drop. Things do get a little bit hectic here. Like I've been doing the whole time, we'll look at the drums first. Believe it or not, nothing too special here. Very straightforward. Again, I've layered the snares loads of times to get that nice snare sound. I actually think there's some more cymbals up here somewhere. Yeah, there's these, which are just random samples that I found. But I think if we scroll up even more, yeah. So these are actually live cymbals, and this was what Liam was playing. They're so sort of like muffled and quiet in the background. Let's take a look at this layer, which I believe is the bass. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, so it's a bass, but it's also like this little stab sound. There's also a lot of these sort of like stabs and percussion and stuff like that going on. Yeah, so these all kind of follow that same reverb automation, which isn't doing a whole lot, to be honest, but just kind of like loads of stuff all over the place, really. I kind of found a rhythm and just went with it and started adding stuff. I didn't want to do too much, but I wanted it to sound kind of like full, but not too random. One of the biggest things in the drop as well is the vocal chops, because they're kind of like the main thing, I guess. They're pretty much the same as they were in the first drop, but more dubstep, if that makes sense. You'll see what I mean. This bit here, when it goes down in pitch, is literally just a pitch automation. And then over here, I cut it up. That's pretty much the same thing. I think that's mostly a copy and paste for the second half. I did get rid of some bits or like change it around a little bit, but it's pretty much the same thing. Another cool thing is on the second half of this second drop, there's like this little guitar hit. That is actually the original guitar loop, which I had in the song, which I actually haven't even played yet. It sounds like this. And that's what we originally had in the song. So I decided to just take that first little hit and then distort it a bunch, and I got this. So again, it's like a nice little fun thing to kind of add in it. But I think that's pretty much everything that's happening there. I think I might have added some more hi-hats and stuff on the second half, but that's about it. Moving on to another bridge section. I don't even know if you'd call this a bridge section, but it's like the speech part of the song. So this is the actual speech. I believe this is what it's called here. To be honest, I just got it off YouTube. I checked to see whether I was able to use it. I think I'm able to use it. I don't think there's any issue with it. But yeah, it's literally just like some speech that someone made about being alone, and I cut it up a whole bunch, to be honest. Like, the speech is like 2 minutes long, and I just kind of took out the fun bits of it.
I would like to be alone, like the phone rings too often.
And again, I've got that like reverse reverb effect, which I've done on the verses for the vocals. There's also a bunch of like glitchy samples and stuff here, which I just downloaded a bunch of glitch effects from Splice, I think it was, and then I just kind of cut them up to how I liked it. There's a lot of like filler stuff in here, as you can see. So we also got this sound here. No idea what that is. Not a clue. Not a clue at all. This is an actual vinyl crackle. Saying on top of it. It's not doing a whole lot, but it's there. Then we got this like percussion loop, which I got from a sticks pack. Another one here too. Then this here is a pad, which is actually really nice. Playing the chords. Then we've got this little dreamy, plucky sound. That's like a little ARP. That's quite nice too. Here we've got some strings, which took me quite a while to get them the way that they are. Quite soft, but as you can hear, they're quite open, like they're not muffled at all. But yeah, that's everything for that sort of thing. I don't think there's anything else that's up here. Oh, there actually is. Oh yeah, okay, I remember doing this. So this was like some little vocal ambient thing, which again, very Chainsmokery. It's the same sort of thing that I'd done earlier on with that like cut up LFO. And of course, these little bells as well, which played in the first bridge. But instead of playing the exact same thing, I got rid of some stuff, made it a little bit more simple. For this part anyway, they kind of come back here. I really do like that. There's something about the melody that's really nice. Okay, now that's it. That's everything for that section. Then we move into the third build-up, which brings the vocals back again. Same thing that's been happening the whole time. Nothing special there at all. There was some other vocal layers here, but I decided to take them away just because the drums don't come in straight away on this section of the build. I wanted it to be like heavy drop, lovely like ambient speech bit, and then it kind of like drift into the build where it's not just like drums hitting straight away, and then it kind of brings the drums in a little bit after. So I think we still have some little string bits here. They're like the disgusting sounding strings, the not so good ones. And we've got a pad, got a plucky bass. I say it's a plucky bass, it's just a bass really. Yeah, even ambient stuff, same thing as before, but this time we still got that sort of like plucky vocal thing which was used here, which I was showing off, still playing in this build up. And the guitars in this bit are louder because I wanted them to be more up front. I think they might be like slightly more clearer as well, or like more sort of open instead of being muffled. because I really wanted them to be quite prominent in this section. Yeah, then when it goes into the build-up again, it's pretty much the same thing as the first build-up, but I think I might have added some little elements to kind of make it similar to the second build-up. So it's got this same little guitar going on there. That one's just like a sort of filler one. What I'm looking for is, there was that little vocal choppy bit. I think it's this here. Yeah, so that was what was on the second build-up for like the dramatic bit, but we're using it on the third build-up just because it's kind of meant to be like a mixture of both. So you've got like the nice melodic build-up, then you've got the heavier build-up, and then the third build-up is kind of like a mixture of both. It's more kind of melodic, but it does have those sort of elements that was in the second build-up as well. But other than that, I think it's pretty much the same. There's like a very, very over-the-top drum fill here. It's the same as the first drum fill, but it's just more cut up and over the top. Now, third build-up, there's a little fake-out section, which sounds like this if it's going to let me play it. If not, I'll just play the audio over. There you go. So as you can hear, it doesn't come in straight away. Like here, there's just straight up automation, like cutting everything like this. So in terms of melody, it's very slightly different. So as you can see, these pretty much look the same. I think there's a few more layers on these vocal chops, but the melody that it plays is just slightly different. Which is this bit here. That wasn't on the first drop. Just wanted to spice it up a little bit, just change it a little bit. There's also this ARP that plays in the background too, which wasn't on the first drop. But to be honest, that's pretty much it for the whole song. I mean, I know the whole time I was going around saying fairly straightforward to everything. But yeah, I'm really proud of this song. I think it's one of my best songs today, other than a song that I'm working on at the moment, which I can't speak too much about, but I'm very excited for that one. Sunlight is a really sick song. I'm really happy with it. If you've enjoyed watching this video and you enjoyed listening to the song, please go stream it on Spotify. It'd mean a whole lot. There's a link in the description if you want to go do that. Add it to your playlist, share it with your friends, stream it as much as you like. I'd really appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this whenever I release a song, let me know. I used to do these videos all of the time, but I stopped doing them because I didn't think people would really be that interested. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't already. I'll be posting my standard song reaction videos this Friday, so keep an eye out for those. But my name is Insko, and I hope you have a great week.